Okay, going to be doing something slightly different. Going to do my biggest hands from last session that I played this evening, and I'm going to do a quick analysis rather than anything too detailed about each of them. So, first one we've got here, to get straight into it, is the aces. Folds to me on the cutoff, and obviously I open 2.5. It's pretty my standard sort of go-to at the moment. Was making it slightly smaller, but I'm a little bit happy with that now. And get a call from the big blind. Flop is 6, 8, 9. That hits his range quite hard. I'm not going to want to be betting too much or too many of my hands here, just because I'm going to get, I think, check raised and quite a bit, and especially from this kind of player, he's got not a lot of in front of him. So I'm going to want to have some hands that I check back here for protection. And considering aces, I don't have to be concerned about too many overcards. I'd have to be concerned about him hitting overcards. I like this as a check. I just remember just making sure I check. Turn is an 8, so that's like quite a safe card for me if he decides to check again. So now obviously going to start betting for value, and I do so. I prefer this to be slightly bigger, so maybe I can size up again on the river, but that's fine. And he calls, and the river, he decides to lead for $1. It's an 8, so I have the top boat. I only lose to a random 8, and he can easily have a 9, a 6, and he's obviously not very good because of his stack size, so there's nothing else to do here but jam. Nothing really much to say. And he calls, and he has the 10-8 off. So, yeah, that was fun. Moving swiftly on. I'm not sure what order these are coming in, but I'm just going to keep going. Here's the kings, and oh yeah, this is lovely. I really enjoyed this one. 2 folds to me, and I make it 2.5 in the cutoff again, and get raised by Twisted Call here, who has 160 bigs in front of him, more than 165 bigs in front of him. Or before he raised, he had 100, 180, 170 bigs or something. And obviously I haven't covered, so I want my 3-bet here to be a little bit bigger to account for that. Just sets up nicer bets on the turn river, flop turn river. So I size up a little bit. I think that's fine. And he pretty quickly jammed, and obviously I call. Such a huge overjam. I guess can he really make it? In his position, I like to take most of my hands as calls here, play in position. If I'm going to choose to proceed, even like stuff like queens, you don't really want to be pumping in 175 bigs with that. But anyway, I call, and he has, the flop's not my favorite. He actually cashed out as well, so yeah, that's fun. That is 350 bigs. Not really the best things to lose, kind of session defining, but obviously you have to move past that. Next up, 8s. Do I win anything going on here? Yeah, I think so. So folds to this guy. I have nothing on this guy. I've never seen him before. Could be anything. But when he mins, I'm straight away thinking he's bad, because you normally want to make it more in the small blind so that you don't have to give your opponent lots of chances to call in position profitably and play lots of pots in position. So I think as a result of him probably being bad, I want to raise here and get more money in position with my 8s. Good value hand against this particular opponent, and I make it 80, which is 4 times his raise, which is, I think, fair. And he calls, flop a set on a 3 queen 8 2 clubs. He checks, and I bet my normal sort of size in a 3-bet pot. I used to bet close to half, but now I've discovered that this size works a lot better. And he raises. I think that he can have, obviously, I do block a club, but that's not really a big deal. He's not going to have too much of that. He can have lots of higher clubs. Considering my initial read that he's probably going to be quite bad. I know doesn't seem too much, that min raise, but really feels bad when they do that. Considering that, I'm going to want to let him bluff quite a lot. He's going to have quite a lot of bluffs, clubby bluffs, and even stuff like Queen X that he just really likes. Against that stuff, I can probably get it in now, but obviously I want to let him bluff off, so just got a call. Yeah, not my favourite turn in the world, and he does bet like quite large. His bet sizing is all awful, so even that still, like, he's really not setting up the river very well. This is going to leave me with like $4 left, so I can already tell he's really bad, which makes me not want to fold whatsoever. Just because, yeah, all his bet sizing is telling me that he's not very good. So while I maybe would normally be concerned about the flush, obviously I'm never folding anyway, but especially against this particular player, I'm not going to be folding, or being, obviously I'm not folding, but not going to be concerned. And then the river's really nice. Like you can see here, I've got 415 to 11, and it just doesn't look good for him at all. Especially bad river card for him as well. Generally for his range, and probably quite a good one for mine, considering I'm going to have kings and aces like this as well. Ace queen, king queen, eights. I'm going to have loads of stuff. It's just terrible basically from him. And yeah, he has ace 3, which is obviously horrific. Next one, in the cutoff again, this time with sixes. I make it 25 and get 3-bet to 80. I think that if he makes this, like, he's going to have to make this like a 1 or above to make me want to fold here. Getting in position, cutoff versus small blind. I'm definitely going to take those odds most days of the week. Flop really well. You'll notice, actually, sorry, I should mention that he has like 180 bigs, and I have him covered, so this is another really big pot, potentially. And the main thing you want to be thinking about here is sizing up a little bit more, just to, if you're in position, if you're the aggressor, just sizing up a little bit more, with all your bets, or with bluffs and your values, obviously, to set up stacks a bit nicer, put maximum pressure on. He bets, and I think this board is so dry. I don't really have many raises on here. Maybe the 9-7 of diamonds / clubs / hearts I want to raise here, which I'll definitely have. But other than that, I want to take most of my. I'm going to have some king X that wants to call, like 9-8, stuff like that I don't want to get barreled off too often. So this protects that kind of calling range. So I call. Turns a 9. And he bets again for $2. Apart from the fact that I want to build a pot, I don't see many reasons why I'd want to raise here. 10-7, obviously not very concerned about. He 3-bet and then bet. He could easily have 10-7 suited, but I'm just not going to concern myself with that. There's definitely an argument to raise here, and had there been 2 of 1 suit on there, I definitely would have done. But as is, I think we can go ahead and call again, especially because we know nothing about him, and which, considering the amount that I've been trying to play recently, that's probably going to mean he's not very good generally. So I think that allowing him to have he's still going to have some very airy bluffs that he's going to continue with, and he's still going to be evaluating that king on some blanks on the river. So I think calling is best. I'd like to get a little more into that, but that's not the purpose of this video. Now I only lose to Queen 10. Not really concerned about that too much. He can have stuff like King Jack, which obviously I smash his value, and I'm thinking when he bets, I'm just going to jam for value, being not too worried about much apart from kings. And yeah, you can't really have jacks on this board. He'd definitely be checking that turn more often than not. So yeah, 10-7 and Queen 10, not that likely. Kings I lose to, obviously, and so I'm thinking when he bets, I'm going to jam for value, and he jams for me, and I snap, and he has the good old Queen 7. I have a feeling he might be bluffing a little bit too often in this spot, but at the same time, I do have some sympathy for the backdoor club bet, considering this is going to be a lot better for his range than mine, this flop. And then on the turn, with the guy, he picked up some equity, which is usually a good rule of thumb to bet again when you pick up equity. And then the river, I think, is probably a bit optimistic considering the run out is fairly dry. I guess I'm gonna have a bunch of king X here, but I do have king jack, which is gonna call this river. Obviously, king queen. I'm thinking I'm probably gonna want to fold here, but if I do have king queen, then I block kings. So considering my previous logic, I think I'd still probably want to kind of call here most of the time. But yeah, I think his play's optimistic. Queens in the big, don't recall. Let's have a look. Middle position makes it 30, and I go for the 3-bet. I make it a little bit larger when I'm out of position, just to put a little bit more pressure on the out position and the in position player. And he decides to call. Do 7 jack. Again, I don't have any hands on this guy, so yeah, he hasn't done anything untoward so far, apart from 3xing, which is something that generally good players don't do. So that's in the back of my mind. Starting off with a small bet, I'd like to do this on monotone boards. I think I'm just going to be doing this with most of my range here. Maybe 60% of the time I'm going to bet here with my range. So this definitely I want to include in there. Checking and him checking back and then seeing another spade is not ideal for me. So yeah, when he clicks, I'm thinking he insta clicked this, and I was like, I instantly took a note down, and I was like, this could mean anything, and what it definitely means is that he's not very good. So looking to call and just see some turns. This turn's fantastic, obviously. Now he can definitely have like ace of spades, king of spades, king jack with the king of spades, stuff like that. So checking to induce the bluffs from those again. And he overjams, which is becoming somewhat a pattern from these players. And I call very quickly. And he has the king jack. This play is absolutely awful from this guy. Do I have any more? One more, I think. Kings in the small blind. Yeah, this is fun. Open to 30. I make it this to put a little bit more pressure on the in-position player in the big blind. He raises. Obviously, I'm going to be wanting to 4-bet here for value. Going to be doing this with a little bit wider range than normal, obviously. So going to definitely want to have kings in there. He doesn't have too much in front of him, so I made it slightly smaller this time. And he calls. Flop is dry as a bone. Going for a small bet, as I'm going to do with a lot of my range. He's going to have some 10x here, but I've got all the overpairs and I 4-bet, so yeah, I should have lots of overpairs. I'm going to be betting ace king of hearts here, ace king of diamonds, ace king of clubs, and then all my overpairs. So I think that's enough, and then checking some other stuff as well, but I think there's too much value to be had here. He can have some 10x, he can have jacks, he can have queens, so I don't want to miss out on that value. He calls, and the turn is nothing to say. Just going to rip that in, and he snaps, and has 10s. So there's really nothing to say there, and those are the hands from today. I hope that was at least interesting. Maybe we'll do it again. See you next time.